Thank you so much for joining and welcome you all in our business analyst credential course. We have been talking this since long, and till now we have covered many things about Salesforce business analyst. So we have talked about the introductory part. We have talked about the collaboration with the stakeholder segment. We have looked into the customer discovery and business process mapping. We also have looked into the requirement side and the user stories. Now the last part, user acceptance testing, is been remaining, and we will be starting this from tomorrow. The last thing which is been remaining in the user stories related to the user experience principles, that has been taken care from tomorrow, from today. So in the introductory part, we have looked into the comparison between the two jobs, basically the admin and BA, and the best practice related to the business analyst, and the essential skills which has been needed for the business analyst person. And how can be a business analyst become a detective? And what are the different models related to the development cycles, or you can say the implementation life cycles? So we have looked into these things, and then in the collaboration with the stakeholder, which has 24% weightage in terms of exams, where we have looked into the virtual whiteboarding and the demo storytelling, and also looked into some kind of techniques which has been helpful for a business analyst to influence a client or the customer, or you can say the stakeholders, and based on those techniques how they can build a trust and build a relationship. Then we have looked into the sales side of the business analyst, where we have talked about how sales is being integrated as a part of the business analyst person, because sales is something which has been aligned, and it's a key to success for the project. Whether we are doing it in Salesforce, whether we are using any kind of other CRM, but this is alignment which is the key for the success. Then we have looked into the prototyping and some use cases based on the sales side, and some organizational level use cases. Then we have looked into the customer discovery in terms of 17% weightages. For this segment, we have looked into the theoretical part, where we have discussed some model like V2MOM. Based on this particular V2MOM model, we have looked into how the company, or how a person can align with their strategic requirements for the client. And based on this kind of models, we have also looked into how we can ensure that this discovery is basically a customer centric. And we have also looked into the governance and some kind of strategic, basically, to build out a content. And then we have jumped to the Salesforce side, where we have took the Salesforce from the beginning and looked into the UI, and some kind of tools like optimizers and the basics and the setup audit trail. And we, based on those kind of things, we have also ensured that okay, now the Salesforce CRM is updated enough with our new releases, so that we can make a project on that and customize this according to the requirement. Then we have jumped into the some other tools as well in our Salesforce journey, where we have looked into a different kind of integration with the Salesforce, like integration, chain set development model also been taken care of previously with our Salesforce journey. And we have also looked into some kind of tools which has been helpful to monitor a particular project, or you can say to monitor a particular business process. So these are the tools which we have discussed, like Jira, SignNow, Smartsheet, Confluence, Gantt chart, Trello. And there are multiple, or you can say there are many technologies or tools available to monitor your project, but we have looked into these kind of tools. And then we have looked into our business process mapping, where we have discussed basically this particular segment is having a 16% weightage, and where we have jumped into the journey mapping of a customer based on some kind of diagrams, or based on some kind of visual representations. Then we have also talked about what are those patterns, what are the basic design patterns. Based on those design patterns, we have mapped a journey of a customer from the basic to the end. Then we have looked into the documentation side, why the documentation is needed, what are the basic steps to take care of the you know while making a the requirements, or you can say while documenting a process. And then what are the basic good steps or basic best practices for writing a Salesforce requirements. And then based on the requirement side we have also, yeah, so this is the basic part which we have discussed in the requirement side. Then based on the requirement we have created some user stories as well, which is having a 18% weightage. In the user stories we have looked into why do we need to create a user stories, what are the basic 5 steps for writing a user stories. And while writing a stories there are some considerations, we have also looked into that thing. And then we have to looked into the acceptance criteria, what are the basic pillars of user experiences, because we have been now based on the user experiences pillars we have been talking about the user experiences principle in our today's session. So based on that particular thing we have, which we have discussed on 30th July, we are now moving forward. Again we have also looked into design thinking, which we have looked into just a basic thing like what is exactly the design thinking, how design thinking work for BAs, and what are the basic process and key principles for BA to apply the design thinking. We have took a 2 days off just because there are some issues. First day we have been facing a lot of disturbance due to the network, and second day I was not feeling well. So we have took a 2 day gap, and now on 17th July, which is today, we have been starting with the user experience principles. And we also looked into sandboxes, what are the types of sandboxes, and how we can make sure that the sandbox has been ready for the customizations. And also we looked into some kind of tools which has been helpful for a customer system. We, based on those tools or based on those methods, we can ensure that okay, the customer system is being good enough to understand the basic requirements or to build a basic process into that. So till now, I believe, is there any kind of issues? Do let me know, and then we can move forward with the UX principles. Those who are been attending this class, please do let me know, is there any kind of issues while going back to the discussion which we had till now. And even we have been recording these kind of sessions, so you can directly Google it out, and you can view the resources in the channel, that the PPT is being updated and the recordings are being available. So whatever the discussion has been here, it's already been recorded, so you can just check it out the YouTube, and you will find each and every recordings. So without further ado, we can start with the UX principle, which is basically a helpful tool, or you can say a helpful principles for the person, those who are making the design process, or you can say they are being indulged in the US, or you can say the UX is basically a user experience. So these are the principle basically which help to build a particular user interface in a fruitful manner, and they come out with the best outcome. So these are the few principles which you can see on the screen. We can discuss each and everything, and based on this particular principles, there are many other principles as well, but I have mentioned only few, because these are the main principles which help with the UX to become a fruitful UX for the end users. So, starting with the UX design, which is a creative, or you can say ever-changing field, because we are, in our day-to-day environment, we can say that the particular application is getting updated, and there are new features added on that particular application. So, basically, this particular UX design is, helpful for might be a practitioner, or you can say a designer, to make it more feasible for a end user. So how they build that particular UX, or what are the consideration they take it, so we have discussed this previously. And but today we will be looking into the principles. So the first principle says meet the user's need. It means that the first principle, the foremost principle, you can say, A UX design should be focused on the users from the beginning of the design process, because the UX is itself says that you means the user, not you. So I have been getting in this from the customer that even those who are experienced enough, they can understand that yeah, they have been making the assumption that based on what I think the end user needs, but this is not the you thing, because the you in the UX does not stand for you. It's all about the users. So getting outside the from your own hand, you have to engage the users, which is the important step in the design process. Thus we can say that okay, you need to learn that you have been learned that users is looking for this kind of design. From the starting point of your designing process, you need to indulge your users, you need to indulge your customers, because it is possible that the design may seems brilliant to you, but remember that you are not the users, right? Because you are not going to use that particular feature in your day-to-day life. The end customer will going to use your product on a day-to-day basis, so you have to think about the user needs. You have to make sure that okay, the end result will be meet what customers needed. So it you in your word might be this is our best product, but in the customer terminologies, that has to be perfect. Or might be you need an improvement in your process, go ahead and do that, but you have to include your customers in order to get a best result. And even this helps to improve your user experience with your product or services which you are offering. So first one is basically meet the user's need. So you have to meet the user's need by getting into the user's head. Then second principle is for basically understanding what exactly you needed to build, and where you are right now at which particular stage. Because firstly you need to use that different kind of tools, just because you are moving ahead in each and every phases. Might be you are looking for the diagrams, or you can say those graphs which we have built, which we have talked previously. So these kind of graphs help you to understand where you are exactly in your design process. And secondly, might this is also the thing because knowing your design phase help you to understand the right kind of questions which you needed to ask, right? For instance, let's suppose you have no point in testing the color of a button which you have building, right? But still you are figuring it out like what color of button I need to place it on. So this kind of issues you can face, but if you are not aware about what exactly the customer needed, and you are not aware about where you are right now, then it means that you are stuck in your design process. Just allow me a minute, please. Yes, Pradesh, I'm in a meeting right now. Pradesh, I'm in a meeting right now. Yeah, yeah, please, please. Uh-huh. Okay, okay. Mm-hmm. और आ, नहीं समझा मैं, मतलब जैसे। हाँ, ओके, ओके, मैं एक बार चेक कर लेता हूँ। हम्म, अच्छा, ओके, जस्ट इन अ मिनट मैं एक्टिवेट कर देता हूँ। मुझे अभी मीटिंग में हूँ मैं, उसके बाद मैं एक्टिवेट कर दूँ, ओके? चलेगा? थोड़ा सा, बस 20 मिनट्स, एटलीस्ट 20 मिनट्स, ठीक है? या श्योर। Thank you so much for waiting for this. Basically, I got a disturbance due to the network. So I have been talking about the second principle. Basically, if you have any kind of doubt, please do let me know because there are only two things which we have discussed so far. The first one, the meet with the users need, and the second one, which is been basically where you are standing at your designing process. Is there any kind of doubt? Please do let me know. Then we can move ahead for the third part. Okay. All right. So okay. So starting with the third one, basically, it says that you have to be in your hierarchy. You have to be understand that okay, where I am right now and which stage I am right now. It means that you should have a clear understanding of your hierarchy. Might be in hierarchy in terms of not in your organization hierarchy, in terms of your designing process. Think about the system where you can see in the uh, in the blog here there are written as a blog events about join us sponsors customer contact us, some kind of tabs written in your blog or website, right? So in those website terminologies you can think that okay, this particular button should look like this, like blog should look like this, event should be considered after blog, about should be considered after events, something like that, or contact us should be last and carrier should be second last. So this kind of button tabbing you should be aware about it. And once you have done the button tab, or you can say the tabs has been fixed, the first hierarchy has been fixed in terms of layman language, the first is been fixed, then you need to think about the second one. In let's suppose if someone click on the carrier page of a website, then what comes after the carrier, whether they have to fill the form directly, or it says that okay, there are few internship available, there are few trainings available, what kind of things after clicking on the carrier button, what kind of things should be visual to the customer. And if someone click on the about us, what kind of things should be visual to the customers, like history, mission, you know that kind of things. And even if someone click on the events, what kind of things should a particular person visual once they click on the event, whether they comes up the direct calendar, event calendar, or whether they can make sure that okay, this kind of event has been happening right now, I need to just click on this register event, and then I can register myself. So that kind of hierarchy should be in your mind once you are building any kind of process, once you are designing any kind of process. Because it is easy to take hierarchy for granted, but in the UX principles that ensure the smoothness, because you are going to navigate from the particular tab, from one tab to another tab. So in this particular hierarchy, you do not need to take it as a granted. You have to ensure that particular hierarchy should be easy to move, or basically you have to ensure that particular navigation is smooth enough in while moving from one tab to another. Might be there are n number of things in your website, but those n number of things should be placed in a very beautiful manner so that person can get a glimpse out of each and everything, and they will be happy after check out of your website. So basically hierarchy in terms of the designing process. Okay, so first come the hierarchy that is associated with the content, and or you can say the information which is being organized throughout the design. And then it comes about what exactly the person will get after clicking on certain information. So when you open a particular website, you will be able to navigate that particular bar, which might be including the main section, home page, events, or anything. So this is what exactly the hierarchy is all about. So this first the term is being fixed, then you think about the second term. What are the subcategories of this first category menu? right? So this is what hierarchy means. And the first one is being fixed, then you have to think about what exactly the customer will get after clicking on the first category. Then uh, then you have a consistent that, like, keep it consistent. You have been getting a lot in your mobile that the mobile application is being updated, but you know what, they are being updated based on their previous version. Like the consistency is being better. Consistent, it means like the user experience is being better in each and every day, right? Might be, you can say, might there are some similarities with your last version, but there are updated version, because that feature is being now updated, but they have been consistent in updating your application. Might be there are a whole different application has been now, the logo has been changed, the menu item has been changed, but at least the functionality is similar to your last version. So they are been not drastically changing the application from out of the blue, but they have been consistently updating your applications. So that is what keep it consistent means. Like the main designing part is should be consistent, so that person can make it familiar with the new product, because they have been learning that kind of process in their application. And now if you come drastically changed your application, then they have to again learn those kind of features. So without wasting those additional learning cost, you can say, they have to be familiar enough in your designed product. So you have to be ensure that the product should be updated on a regular basis, so that the person can be learn each and every day. They do not have to learn a drastic change. Then we have accessibility. Accessibility, it means that people somehow those who are not able to do some kind of things, they are differently able kind of people. So those people also be able to use your product. That is the accessibility mean. That is the designer responsibility to make sure that the design is usable for as many as people as they want, right? Might be they are differently abled, might be they are a senior level person, might be they are junior level person, might be they are a student, or anyone. But your product should be designed in terms of usability for each and everyone. To this end, you should remove all the obstacles from your design layout, because just they have to be ensure that this particular product is been now problem free, and each and everyone can navigate this particular product, right? So as we have been taking the background color options examples since long, so we can continue with that example as well. So in that particular colors, might be there are countries which says that black color is not good, but there are countries or there are people those who say that okay, black color is my favorable color. So that means you have to think about the context of the country. That means you have to think about the people those who are going to use your product. So this help even for the people those who are in that particular firm or in that particular country. So they will be able to use that product, and they can affiliate that product in their own ways. And even sometimes what happen if we have dull the color, that, or you can say they are a color which has been having a low light. This means that people those who have specs on their eyes, they have a hard time reading your content. So that means you have to be ensured that as well, that person those who have a low visibility can also be able to use your content, read your content basically. So the screen should be more readable for each and everyone. So that is what understanding the accessibility means. The designer should be responsible for each and everything. And then we have context is the key. Context means like which context you are building your product, the users exactly. right? So when designing, you need to take into the account that user should have the ability to, to get a full outcome what exactly the product is. Might be they are using on a day-to-day basis at their office area, but some people are going to use that particular product in their home as well. So that location should not be constraint in your application or in your product, or there are any n number of constraints, they should not be there in your product. They have to be, and the people those who are going to build this particular product should be ensured that whether they are using it on the desk, whether they are using on the go basically. So they have to be ensured, each and every one, because using the particular product on a day-to-day basis is the key for your success, right? So all these factors help you to understand what exactly the user's behavior are, and once you have a right insight into that, you can prepare a design according to the experience, according to the expectations, according to the needs, right? So that is what context is all about, and this is what it says, that context is the key. Then we have a usability first. Usability first means like the problem should be uh, uh, first understood by you, then you will be able to give the some kind of solutions, right? Because you are not going to make a particular product just for the one use, right? So you have to be ensured that each and every each and every conditions for your product should be fulfilled, right? Which makes the usability of the design for most of the user experience, right? No matter what, whether you are working in a closed environment, whether you are working in an open environment, no matter what, where, but that particular product should be usable for each and every one, and it should be safe and easy to use, right? It should not be getting some kind of troubles, it should not be having any kind of issues. So that is what usability first means. Then we have less is more. So less is more is mean like less is the most approachable, or you can say steps, which means that if you have a less in your UX user experience, then person can feel that okay, it's easy. At least the first word they will say that okay, it's easy, because there are no xyz things in my design, in my page, right? They are not going to clutter your particular area, or you can say there are no over decoration in your area. So that means that simplicity is the key. So less is more. And even the UX for the people those who are going to build this particular product, they underline this thing that the product should be simple and reduce the basic over decorating thing. It also help you to minimize the cost, because unnecessarily we are placing anything on the UX, it means you are paying for that particular feature. So in in placing those kind of value, that means that you are simple enough, and you are consistently improving, and the feature is easy to use. So it's also been reducing your operational cost. And then we have a simple language thing. So simple language, again, it means that the people those who are non-technical can also be able to understand your product or application, just as simplicity, right? Because this is the best practice. Whosoever is going to use this particular product, you should be able to give them the feature, that the ability, that okay, the technical terms is being easily understood by the person. Because you have to write down those kind of technical terms in a simple language, right? So might be this is the key, right? Might be they are using different applications, and they are getting the hard time reading those content, and in your feature, in your product, the simple language is the unique thing So they will migrate it to you, use your product in terms of that kind of products. So that means that simple language is easy to understand and it's user friendly, and the people will love that particular simplicity. Then we have user in control. It means that user should be in your control, because you should not be give n number of options. The pop-up should be right then and there, and in-app guidance which you have to build in your application should be helpful to understand what kind of thing the particular user needed. Let's suppose in the website the upward icon is there, and which means that if someone is been clicking on the upward icon, then only it allows the top of the page person, right? And if someone clicks on the icon of your website, then it means that the website should go into the home page. And if you are clicking on the cancel button, that means that whatever the person is been going in your website, they can cancel their process. In terms of what we can say, in terms of Amazon, right? If you have added a cart, if you have added the item in your cart, and you are about to check out the Amazon and paying for that product, but in meanwhile you stuck with something, and then you have to cancel the whole process, there should be a button for the cancel, so that the whole process should get vanished. That means you are in the control. So that is what user is in control means. That basically gives you a flexibility. Whatever you are using, whatever you are doing, it should be able to vanish whenever you need it, or whenever the customer need it. Then we have design with personality. Design with personality basically means personality says that it is should be attractive, right? So your design should be attract more users. Might be in terms of easy, or might be in terms of content, might be in terms of your product excellency, anything. But that is the key thing to attract users. So that means you have to design with the personality. And in terms of the users personas, you are going to build that functionality, or you are going to build that product, right? So we have talked about less is more, simplicity, right? So that means you, based on those kind of principles, you are trying to attract the users. And even adding more personalities to your design gives more human touch, right? So it means that your product is now more attractive and more usable, and it has more human touch. Then we have another one, the narrative design. Narrative design is basically how a particular person can give your product in a storytelling way. And if someone has used your product, then they can able to give a feedback, or they can spread the product with the help of their word of mouth. So with those kind of uh, those kind of mindset, you have to build the product, so that the person can tell a story if they have been using your product, right? Or might be there are two things which has been main in your storytelling thing, which is the time and rhythm. So time means the how they can adopt your product, right? Whether they are using the product since long, or it easy for them to adopt in a single way, right? And second, it's a rhythm. Rhythm means the pattern of how a person can move from one tab to another, right? In a narrative way, because they are been clicking on a particular tab, and then they are jumping to the another screen. So that means the rhythm should not be broke, because that has to be there. And that means they are able to use your product in a easy way. It also increases their interest in using their website or in your product, right? They will not gonna bore while using your product. If the feature is being slow, that means the user is going to be get bored. So that means the rhythm should be there, and based on that kind of instance, you have to build your uh, product or the process. So yeah, with this I believe I have been covered all those principles, and the diagram you can see in the screen, that what you think user do, which less as compared to what exactly the users do, right? So this means that users testing help to reveal what exactly user actually do. So that user testing is basically help you to reveal all those areas. Is there any kind of issues or queries? Please do let me know, is there any kind of queries in user principles? All right, so let's move ahead. So we have another one which is says that you need to evaluate your customer system, and there are various things to helpful for you, or even helpful for the person those who are going to build the process. First they have to understand what exactly the user's system is all about. Whether the website, if you are building a website, let's suppose, whether the website is been working as they wanted, or what kind of errors they have in their existing system, or they are been using might be web applications. So what exactly the issues or bugs in their web applications. So it means you have to understand what's their systems, then you will be able to modify it accordingly, because user experiences is basically based on the utility, or you can say a human factor. It gives a functionality that okay, the you know okay, my website is pretty much useful for my day-to-day work, but some people will find it as a useless thing, what exactly they have built. So this is basically a personas thing, and some people might be happy to use your product, but some people will get dissatisfied after using your product. So that means you should be able to understand the users in terms of their experiences, in terms of the functionalities which you are going to provide. But you will have to understand that not all people will going to fit in your you product, right? Not all the people will be happy. So first you need to evaluate the current system. It means what exactly they are been using. Then you can modify it accordingly, right? Then you can suggest some fixes or improve those kind of fixes by analyzing their own data, existing data. So there are few things which has been we have been looking into right now. So the first one is A/B testing. In terms of UX UI, A/B testing is something like a more iterative manner. A UX is a specialist basically. We They have to compare those two things, like the effectiveness and the quality. So let's suppose effectiveness means a person can effectively use that particular product, but the quality is another thing. So the quality means that the product quality is should be not like that the product is only for the use for 2 to 3 days. The quality of the product should be best in terms of usability, in terms of their features, so that that particular product will be able to use it for a long time, right? Or based on these two comparison, the effectiveness and quality, they built some kind of hypothesis. Okay, let's suppose a button should be red in color, and the UI should be brown in color, anything. They build some kind of hypothesis. Hypothesis means like the not real story, just a thinking kind of stories. And then based on that hypothesis, they propose some kind of solution. They propose different options, right? So that they will be able to understand what exactly the customer needed. Might be the option is being helpful for the customer. So they do the A/B testing. A/B testing, like the A part is the effectiveness and B part is the quality side. So that means they do these kind of A/B testings, and even they do user surveys as well. User surveys, like the people those who are going to use your product, they you know they ask them the feedback, they ask them the suggestions, and based on the survey they build that kind of functionality in their application, right? Then we have wireframes and prototypes. This is the thing which we have talked about previously. The wireframe is basically method where a particular prototype, where the particular product is being looking into one form to another steps. What exactly the layout is, like the first step, then second step, then third step, and each and every step is being linked, right? So that kind of a wireframing is being done. Then prototype is like a real kind of product, but not the end results. So that means they build those kind of prototypes just to get an idea how the functionality will work. Then we have users flow. Users flow is also basically a design kind of thing. Like the from the starting point to the ending point, each and everything is been visualized to the customers, that okay, we will be using this functionality at this particular time, and these are the features after a completion of this step. So in the flow chart, in the visual diagram, they they means like the business analyst build that kind of flows in order to give them the visualization that how a particular function will work and how the particular product will be building. And we have some more tools like storytelling, like we have already covered this particular storytelling thing in the previous sessions. There are few people involved in the storytelling, right? And how this particular person tells a story to your customer or the team, right? Based on those person, like the actor, and they have some kind of issues, then there is a victory, right? That kind of storytelling we have discussed in our previous tab. And now we based on these kind of factors, we have also few things to look into, like the design patterns, like the profile personas, or we have even looked into the uh, resources, whether they are available for us or not, whether we have certain styles which is being helpful to build a certain product or process for the customers. So this is basically what exactly system analysis thing, like you based on this tools or based on these methods, you can analyze the system of a customer, and based on that understanding, you need to start building your product or process. So the first one is the basic. Understand the personas first, because you are going to build it for the user, not for your day-to-day use. So first, knowing your audience is the first step. Then you have A/B testing, like what exactly the effectiveness and the quality thing. Then you will move forward with the another steps, like the storytelling and other principles, or you can say other tools, methods. Is there any doubt or queries till now? Guys, please speak up. Is there any kind of queries? I will be happy to assist you.
It's clear.
Okay, thank you so much, Swati. And based on what we have discussed so far, we have been covering our, user story thing. The second last segment of the business analyst course is being covered now. From tomorrow onwards, we will be looking forward for the users acceptance testing. One more thing which has been remaining, which is the specific to the people, those who are, you know Salesforce ecosystems, they are already been working in that particular ecosystems. So this is the part which focused on the Salesforce side. But for the people, those who are non Salesforce ecosystem, they can think about a particular environment which is we called as a sandbox, where we deal for the testing side, where we build some kind of functionalities, and in that particular sandbox we build whatever the requirements are. So there are few things which has been necessary in order to understand the environment properly. So there are few things which I have mentioned in the slide. The first one is servers and IDs. So think about a process where you are going to build it for the people, those who are using in the production or the real environment, the place where many people are going to work, right? So that kind of production environment is different as compared to your testing environment. So in that environment, the servers and the IDs are different. So first consideration should be there that okay, the server which you are going to build is totally different in terms of production. The IDs for the object or for the uh, you can say the records are totally different in terms of environments, the two different environments. And even the users and contacts are not same. Whether you are using it on the sandbox, the user should be might be four or five, but in the production there might be n number of users, there might be n number of contacts. So you should be aware about the users and contacts. Then you have email deliverability. Email should not be sent to the customer directly from your sandbox. That means whatever you are going to customize, it should be within you only, not even the users, not even the users. So think about the email deliverability. You have to make it for the system only, not all. You have to look into the deliverability and it should be off. Then you have full sandbox configurations, like based on the data which has been available, you have to customize it according to the requirement, according to the specifications which is being shared by your customers or stakeholders. So you have to configure your sandbox, your full sandbox, based on that requirement. Then customize the data, and there are data changes, right? So it means that you are building a lead on the sandbox, but the same kind of lead is being converted in your sandbox, but that lead should be in your production org, not as an opportunity or account. There are differences in terms of your sandbox and in terms of your production. Whether you have been deploying some kind of application from app launcher, or you can say the app exchange in sandbox, but you forget it to install it in the production, then you have to look into that as well. You have to think about the logos, the areas where you are changing anything on the sandbox. Once you are being ensured that okay, my sandbox is being configured, then publish those kind of changes to the production as well. Without full understanding, you should not publish anything to the production, right? So this is the case that production and sandbox should be different. Then we have multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor means like the two-factor kind of thing. Previously, in the February 2020 last year, the sandbox do not have been a MFA or multi-factor authentication, but now people are been forcing, or Salesforce has been enforcing that multi-factor authentication should be enabled in the system, in the sandbox, or even the single sign-on should be there in your sandbox or productions. So that means you have to think about that as well, in that is respect as well, that if you have been multi-factor authentication, which sandbox is being going to use, and who will be authorized this sandbox. Then we have product and services exclusion, like there are some products and services which are being enabled in the production all, but they have been disabled in your sandboxes. So right, you have to re-enable those things in the production in order to get the full functionalities. Think about in the production, like we have export now and schedule export, right, option, or even we have a weekly export option in our setup page, but this is the functionality not has been enabled in the sandbox. This is being disabled, right? Similarly, we have a subscription summary in our production, or but in the sandbox we do not have that ability. And same, we have ability to copy the email thing, but this has not been the case in the sandbox. So there are differences in the sandbox and production. So think about building anything in the sandbox and then move it to the production, because whether you are building it on the sandbox, the id should be mapped, or there are the functionalities, the servers, the domain should be mapped in terms of the sandbox or in terms of the production. Both are the similar, then your functionality will be able to work properly. Is there any doubt till now? So okay, so this is what we have done so far, and with this particular day, we have been covering the user stories part. The second last part we have covered. Now the only remaining thing is the acceptance part, which we will be starting from tomorrow. And tomorrow will definitely going to be the last day, because the user acceptance has only few things to take care of. So we have been prior to our timeline. We have been closing this particular course prior to our timeline, basically. So the user acceptance for the tomorrow case will be the last session for the business analyst course. And if you have any kind of issues, we have been focusing on these two things, the customer and stakeholders. Then we have been looking into the Salesforce. And if you have any kind of doubts, reach out to me on Trailblazer or reach out to me on Slack channel. Okay.